Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Okay, so we gotta talk about Fani Willis. It's been a couple days, I know, since the news has dropped, but listen, we're only a couple people here at the Liberal Hive Mind. I can't tackle every single story, sometimes they get put on the back burner, but it doesn't mean I won't get there eventually, and that's exactly what we're doing today. We gotta touch on the Fani Willis case. It's been a while since I've made any update on the lawfare campaigns, considering how much has changed recently since Donald Trump won the election, but you know, there's always room to gloat, there's always room to talk crap against government corruption and abuse of power, so I guess let's do a little bit of a victory lap here, as Fani Willis's career and reputation are now irreparably harmed. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so let's break down what's happening here with Fani Willis. The latest news is that Fani Willis has been removed from her fake electors case. It's all backfiring so spectacularly. This was supposed to be her claim to fame. This was Fani Willis's big moment to be a big name in the world of Democrat politics, but instead, it's been a total train wreck. And let's back up a little bit and talk about why these charges were BS from the start. The so-called fake electors case was one of the most politicized attacks on Trump I've ever seen. Essentially, the idea was to criminalize questioning an election or challenging results. They tried to spin what happened as some sort of grand conspiracy, but really I believe that it was just legal maneuvering. Something Democrats do all the time, by the way. Remember in 2000 when Democrats sent their own slate of electors during the Bush-Gore debacle? That wasn't criminalized, but when Trump's team does something similar, when they believe that they've been wrong and they're trying to execute any legal path that they can, any legal angle available to them, well suddenly it's racketeering. And this was their game plan all along. Throw every charge imaginable at Donald Trump and hope that something sticks. And what's funny is this was supposed to be their premier case. This was the case that supposedly was going to take Donald Trump down. My fake electors, we heard that over and over again. They never actually explained what criminal action was taken. They just kept saying, my fake electors scheme in Georgia. They thought it made them sound smart and knowledgeable. It was their favorite political talking point. It was their trump card, so to speak. But now look where we are. A Georgia appeals court essentially shut it all down. And what it all came down to, I think, was two things. Firstly, obviously, the gross misconduct. Fani Willis literally engaged in the exact thing that she condemned the previous attorney general of doing.
Because they deserve a DA that won't have sex with his employees. Because they deserve a DA that won't put money in their own pocket when it should go to benefit children. Because we deserve better.
The exact thing that she said she would be fighting against when running for office during her initial bid to be Fulton County's lead prosecutor. And secondly, what I'd argue is more egregious, the recent revelation that Fani Willis and her lead prosecutor, Nathan Wade, were allegedly in communication with the White House during this indictment, and now we're even learning that they were possibly in communication with the J6 committee. And if that's true, that's not just unethical, that is straight up political corruption. Imagine coordinating with the executive branch while prosecuting a former president. Now, of course, the intent would be hard to prove, but the optics, they're just horrible. Even the judge in the case mentioned this a while back.
Using the title of your office and having on social media that you as this political office holder are holding a fundraiser for the opponent of someone that this political office is investigating. I don't know that it's an actual conflict, but I use that phrase, what were you thinking, where the prosecutor thought I could prosecute the co-defendant of someone I defended. It's a what are you thinking moment. The optics are horrific. If you are trying to have the public believe that this is a nonpartisan, driven by the facts, and I'm not here to critique decisions, the decision was made, but if we are trying to maintain confidence that this investigation is pursuing facts in a nonpartisan sense, no matter who the district attorney is, we follow the evidence where it goes and ignore the fact that I hosted a fundraiser for the political opponent of someone I've just named a target. That strikes me as problematic, maybe not from an actual conflict level, but if we are at a cocktail party and people are asking, do you think that this is a fair and balanced approach to things? I do. Well, how do you explain this? How does one explain? I mean, that's the concern I'm working through, is that it's not a lowercase a appearance. It's like a capital A with flashy lights fundraiser district attorney for the political opponent of someone I've named the target of my investigation, where I'm the legal advisor to the grand jury, and I'm on national media almost nightly talking about this investigation. That's problematic.
Okay.
And so finally, the decision went to the appeals court and they said, you know what, this stinks to freaking high heavens. It seems almost as if they were watching the same movie as we were, and they came to the exact same kind of conclusion that we did, that this was a politicized lawfare campaign from the get-go, from the jump. Oh, it's all just so embarrassing. How their flagship case has fallen apart, and actually, speaking of embarrassing, let's use the concept of embarrassment as a little bit of a pivot here, and talk a little bit about Jenna Ellis. Oh, how embarrassing it must be for her. I mean, she must be seething at this point. I think now in hindsight, looking over the last 12 months or so, Jenna Ellis might have taken the biggest L of the season by actually caving to this nonsense pressure campaign. She actually took a plea deal in this case.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hogue.
Thank you, Your Honor, for the opportunity to address the court. As an attorney who is also a Christian, I take my responsibilities as a lawyer very seriously, and I endeavor to be a person of sound moral and ethical character in all of my dealings. In the wake of the 2020 presidential election, I believed that challenging the results on behalf of President Trump should be pursued in a just and legal way. I endeavored to represent my client to the best of my ability. I relied on others, including lawyers with many more years of experience than I, to provide me with true and reliable information, especially since my role involved speaking to the media and to legislators in various states. What I did not do, but should have done, Your Honor, was to make sure that the facts the other lawyers alleged to be true were in fact true. In the frenetic pace of attempting to raise challenges to the election in several states, including Georgia, I failed to do my due diligence. I believe in and I value election integrity. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse. For those failures of mine, Your Honor, I have taken responsibility already before the Colorado bar who censured me, and I now take responsibility before this court and apologize to the people of Georgia. Thank you.
Imagine how she must feel right now watching all the people who tried to ruin Trump having their careers and reputations fall apart. She gave in when she should have stood tall. And for what? To save herself from charges that were flimsy at best? Just so pathetic. But I think Jenna Ellis is the perfect example of exactly what the plan here was. You know, I think this was the purpose of the case. To demonize Donald Trump, of course. That's what the mugshot was for. Of course, that backfired. But to demonize Donald Trump and to create so much pressure to the extent that you could start getting people around him to start turning on him. This was the true intention. This is how they operate. These corrupt politicians apply relentless pressure on the people around Trump, trying to flip him, essentially. It's lawfare 101. Isolate the target, make an example out of people close to him, and force them to turn on him. I mean, look at Alyssa Farah Griffin, for instance. The moment she started bad-mouthing Trump and turning on him was the moment all the lucrative job opportunities working in the mainstream started to roll in. Alyssa Farah Griffin all of a sudden was on MSNBC and CNN, getting paid big bucks to show up and speak, and then she got a full-time gig on ABC's The View. You think the timing is a coincidence? Of course not. It's all part of the playbook. Offer people around Donald Trump an opportunity of career advancement or threaten them with legal action or something more sinister, all in the effort to get at Trump. And now as we're looking back, analyzing everything in hindsight, and as more information drops, it's so clear what they were doing. With Jenna Ellis, Alyssa Farah Griffin, and then the latest story with Liz Cheney, who was reportedly guiding Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony to the January 6th committee. Hutchinson was giving the most hyped up testimony at the time, we all remember. Of course, it turned out to be a complete dud. Donald Trump lunged at Secret Service to try to turn the beast around. The most ridiculous story I've ever heard in my life. But anyways, Cassidy was supposed to give the biggest bombshell testimony that was going to ruin Donald Trump forever, but it turned out that Cheney was basically holding her hand the entire time, steering the narrative. There was never a genuine investigation. It was all political theater. And some people might say, well, you know, that's the way investigations go. You got to put pressure on the accomplices to turn on the big guy. Kind of funny saying that. You know, sounds like a good idea to get at the actual big guy at the top of a corruption racket, Joe Biden. But anyways, let's move on. They'll tell you it's law enforcement tactics 101. Go for the henchmen and henchwomen and get them to flip on the big mafia boss. But in this case, it was never about pressuring people to flip for genuine reasons. It was about forcing them into straight up lying. What they did here with Jenna Ellis, Alyssa Farah Griffin, and Cassidy Hutchinson felt more like blackmail and bribery than anything genuine. They dangle career opportunities, threaten them with financial ruin, and then push them to betray Trump. Then, of course, the media steps in and hails these people as being brave and courageous, when really all they're doing is selling out their integrity to the highest bidder or in a desperate act of self-preservation. But thankfully, it seems like it's all coming to an end, and the Fani Willis case collapsing is just the latest example of how rigged this entire system is. They don't care about justice or rule of law. The only thing they cared about was taking Donald Trump down at any cost. And when one tactic failed, they simply jumped to the next. But what they didn't realize is every time they did that jump, they looked more desperate. Every time one case fell apart and they ran to the next pathetic attempt, the more they tried to tear him down, the more they ended up strengthening Donald Trump. The more people were able to see through the lies. And so yeah, Fani Willis is out, her case is crumbling. Jenna Ellis, unfortunately, fell for the scam, but the truth is coming out. And it's clear to anybody paying attention that this has never been about justice. It's about weaponizing the legal system against a political opponent. And as these sham cases fall apart, the left's corruption becomes harder and harder for the regular American to ignore. In other words, as per usual, they've overstepped their boundaries, and now they've completely exposed themselves. I guess what's new? Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.